Welcome to the MBD podcast, the show where we dig into what's actually working or not with the people who've been there. Today's guest has definitely been there. So why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself, tell them where you've been, what you're doing, and where you're going.
Thank you, Jason. My name is Audra Palakodety. I'm with the APOORVA Corporation. I've been with the company off and on since 2016. And where we're going next is we're a custom software development company, and we have been working for customers all these years, and now we are also transitioning into another exciting branch where we are going to be creating our own products for the market. We have a couple that are already out there.
Awesome. So when you start working with a new customer, what are areas of opportunity that you identify to help them scale their business and overcome failure?
When we first meet with customers, sometimes it comes to they needing an implementation partner, or they need a data assessment, or perhaps they have a current software that they need to take to the next level. And so they're looking to either enhance what they have, or maybe it's too old and they need a completely new framework. And we create version 2, or in some cases, a version 3 software for them. Where we start was just like anybody. We do a requirements discussion. What is it that what you're trying to achieve? Where do you need to go in the marketplace to stay competitive? That usually leads into framing out and trying to figure out just how extensive our help is going to need to be for them, what we can do to leverage the strength on their own teams, and where they need some of our special expertise to take it to the next level.
Awesome. So what are some of the questions you ask them to dive into, like trying to identify where they're struggling and how you can help right it?
I mean, we start with what are your pain points? What is falling short? Sometimes, they have all the data that they really need, but they haven't found the right way to hone in and find it, farm it, to give them the results that they need. So first, we look at what the current structure is that they're using, where it's falling short, what is in the way of them achieving what they need. Whether it's next level or just better reporting, et cetera. And that helps us plot the course. It always starts with what the pain is, and then we work on what the solution might be. And we try to do it in a staged approach to, if whenever possible, depending on how big of an engagement it is. What can we deliver in a 6 or 8 week sprint to give them something tangible until we can deploy the next thing that's going to help them? And that'll be another 6 or 8 week sprint. So wherever we can, we try to do a phased approach. And that also usually helps them budget wise too. This is how much it's going to be for this first part. And there's always a lot of things that we discover in that process too. When we start with the first sprint, there's things that reveal themselves that help us decide what is going to be a priority for the next one. Sometimes what they initially started off thinking they wanted next changes through that first discovery sprint. So I think the important thing with software development is just being flexible and
Mhm.
knowing that you start off with a really good plan, but just knowing that you have to be flexible because it's going to change. It's going to be an iterative process to get to what you really want and the best outcome. If you
Mhm.
start with
So
knowing that you might change it along the way, it's going to be easier for you to do that. You won't feel
yeah,
so rigid.
things always pop up, right? Like, it's funny because every time we work like on the dev side with a website launch, or we're like the marketing firm helping with the developer, they always say, "Oh yeah, we'll build this in like 3 to 4 months." And I say, 6 months. No, 6 months. Don't be upset, client. It's going to take 6 months. And then what happens? The client takes the time getting them back assets. They didn't approve copy. They didn't look at the
Right.
mock. So it's like, the clients don't realize usually they're the ones slowing everything down.
Mhm. No, you're
And
you're you're exactly right, Jason. When our team gives me the estimates, I kind of put on the customer layer on top of that,
yeah,
and then I make the kind of the final decision on what timeline we need to have, because I've been through enough projects to know, just to your point, that we can have the time of how many hours it takes us to complete stuff, but because we need to bring it back to the customers, or that we need to put it in a user acceptance testing, and they might need some time to ponder about it, you got to factor in that time. So true, we charge on the time that we take to do it, but we have to allow those pockets of time when our team might be paused slightly on this particular project to allow the customer feedback and the customer to have the time that they need to do it. They might think, well, they should be able to turn this around by next week, but maybe they had an all hands conference, and
Yeah.
so now they don't have
Or
time
they're
to do it. And so,
traveling, right? They got an
right,
event. It'd
right.
be
And a lot of
interesting to,
times these
yeah.
these projects are like in addition to their full time work, right? So
Yeah.
they're trying to fit it in too.
I wish they had a stat. Maybe it's out there, but it'd be interesting to see how much time clients prevent themselves from getting stuff completed. Maybe, maybe I'm sure it's months on average. Like, oh, I'm gone next week. Oh, so and so's out of the office. And next thing you know, you're like, all right, 2 weeks went by. We got nowhere. We're waiting on you. It
Right.
actually just happened with us. We couldn't get a response back from a client. We're trying to get approval to increase budgets on a few things. And they're like, well, why didn't you ask me? And it's like, well, here's a history text chain of the past 3 weeks of you not responding. Oh,
Right.
like,
Right.
all
And,
right.
and I think it's really important to make sure that, kind of one of those things, knowing when you text or send a chat, knowing when you need an email and knowing when you need a phone call, to keep things going. And I think that's very important when it comes to customers and making sure that they're really clear. Sometimes you can just tell, I don't think they're getting how time sensitive this is. And you have to be like, okay, maybe this is a time for a quick call to maybe get it across a little bit easier for them, that they're kind of holding up their own show.
Yeah, it for us it seems you've got the system. So if we're using Basecamp, Jira, or a project management tool, right? We hit them there. If we don't get it from there, then we send a text. Hey, did you see what happened in the tool? And if you don't get a response, then we send an email, and then they get a call, and then it's like, okay, what's left besides me showing up at your door with my computer saying, hey guys, we want to get this rolling. So you've done the discovery, you've got the essentially scope of what you're going to work on, you've developed out your initial phases. You need to be flexible. So now when you go to implement those different phases, what's kind of your key to success for making sure that those go smoothly, and you're hitting the points and timelines that you're supposed to?
Right. Well, we have what we call a D9 project approach, and we've even created our own software called D9 that is it's a development project software tool. Eventually, that'll be in the marketplace too. But for now, we just did it to um, for ourselves. We kind of custom built our own software so that it would help us through our development cycle with the opportunity for our customers to interact with it and be a part of that project. So, we do the discovery as we talked about. We decide. We call the next step the decide on the D9. So well, I'm sorry. D1 is discovery. D2 is we define the requirements. D3 is we design it and give them a prototype. Really talk about it on the outline to present what we've gathered from all of our time together. And then the fourth D is really on them to decide, and we get the approval and making sure that we're right on the prioritization that they wanted. So then the next thing is we start the development, and through the development process, we try to give a demo through that development process every week or two, depending on just how the engagement is and how detailed it is. We find that we learn so much in that process. One, it keeps the client engaged. And if there's anything that's changed in their environment, there's not too much time where we've left them to go off and do our thing and come back. Sometimes there's surprises if you leave each other alone too long. So it's
Mm-hmm.
good for us to be in front of them every week or two, depending. And it
Mm-hmm.
also makes them engaged and keep
Yeah.
excited about the project, and also tell us if the original requirements we had, if maybe something was a little off once you get into that development phase and they see it and they're like, oh shoot, well really it'd be more helpful if it worked like this, or something else has bubbled up to the top that we forgot to include, because it's impossible to think of everything during the requirements. And I want customers to always know that they're not alone. There's no way, even if we were building something for ourselves, I know that we'd miss something initially, because it's just so vast, right? So that's okay. We can add it in. We can figure out how it works um, through that process. So the demoing is great. We make sure that we're still on track. We get the stakeholder feedback and we keep going. Once we get along, we go through our testing and our quality assurance. We call that the debug stage. We prepare the documentation for them so that they have clear documentation on their software, and then we deploy it, and hopefully everything goes great with that. Sometimes then we'll come along, and then there'll be the enhancement phase, right? Because sometimes when you're building custom software development, you want the whole world, and then your budget tells you you can only afford one country, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
we start with the country you live in, and then as you go, we can add on to that with maybe enhancements, and then the next budget approval and stuff like that. So that way, at the core, they always get what they absolutely gotta have to have, and then later we can continue to improve upon it or create the enhancements that they need. And sometimes once they really get it in the hands of all the people that are working with it, there's more things that bubble up to the top, or maybe kick off those top items that were on the enhancements list, and make way for the ones that they've discovered in reality need to be prioritized.
Nice. So
Yeah.
you've got your discovery, you figured out what the issues are. You then created your phases, and then you executed your strategy. You've gotten to deployment phase. And then anything post deployment phase, now you're working on maybe phase 2 or 3 down the road. Is there anything you find that helps maintain success and client engagement for a long period of time?
Well, we check back with them, and also times, depending on the product, we'll be a part of the training piece with their teams, or sometimes they are. It depends on what the product is. Sometimes we do some more fine tuning with the documentation afterwards when you get the feedback from the people in the field that are really using the product. So I would say even after we deploy, there's a few months of little fine tuning, maybe, whether it be documentation or training, or small little fixes. And then, of course, after we usually recommend them using it 3 to 6 months before we start on the enhancements, depending on what is necessary. If there's enhancements and if there's budget to start it right away, then we're always happy to do that right away. But sometimes they need a little time to play with it to make sure that they've kicked the tires on those enhancements they think they need.
Nice. And then, no, great. So you've gotten to the point now, and then you're looking for new clients. So, how is it that you guys keep your pipeline full to make sure you got new clientele coming in and potential customers?
Yeah, I mean, word of mouth is really huge in our business. Almost every customer we've had has come from word of mouth from another customer. But we participate in different conferences depending on what we're building, and being in custom software development and having made uh, enhancements across so many different industries, we kind of spread ourselves around. Uh, we've been in healthcare, we've been in fintech, we've been in manufacturing, um, all different areas. So the cool thing is that we've got to build a lot of different things for people and learn a lot about these different businesses. The hard part is it's hard to sometimes narrow in on just one particular area when you're used to playing everywhere.
Hmm.
So that's something that we're always working on fine tuning. How do we get our message out, what we do and what our capabilities are? And is it better to be more narrowed? Is it better to stay wide? And that's something that we're always, talking about internally too.
Awesome. So, if someone's listening trying to scale right now, what's one piece of advice you wish you had earlier on?
To scale, um, I think it's important. A lot of times, there's teams out there that can do the day to day, but they need a little bit more help when they're trying to really move the needle and build something else or build something on. I think it's always good to check with a consulting firm like ours. We always do, at least the first couple of meetings we do completely free, just to brainstorm with them and find out, here's what you need. They might have thought they needed something new, and really we might come in and be like, no, really, you probably just need to tweak this or tweak that, or maybe integrate with a different software that's already out of the box. Maybe you don't need to customize. So we take a very consultative approach. And we help people, even people that maybe sometimes we don't even end up doing development for because they didn't really need it, but we've given them some guidance on what to do next. We've also worked with customers where they qualified for a program that we have called a revenue share program, where we felt like their business model was steady. There was a good CEO in place. They had a good plan, but they maybe didn't have all the capital they needed, but they desperately needed, a technology fix or a technology development to be able to continue to grow. So we have a couple of customers where we have a revenue share model with, where they pay us a small amount, but we do the development for them, and then we'll get a piece of their revenue as they build and grow, and that helps them not get stuck now,
Yeah.
or not be able to grow because of the technology restrictions. So that has worked out really, really well for us. And it's, we're a part of feeling, we're a part of their team in that way too. It's definitely feels like a collaborative process. Our success is their success. The more we can, uh, you know, the more things that we can implement and save them time and money on, the farther reaching their scope will be too. So then we benefit from that financially as well. So that's another way we help people if they're trying to scale, if they qualify.
Awesome. And where can people connect with you or learn more about what you're doing?
Sure. Well, our website is www.apoorva.com, and Apoorva is APOORVA. It is a Sanskrit word meaning unprecedented, never been done before. And on our website has some of the things that we do and some of our products as we release them also.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.